Don't scroll. I know you're tired. I know you've been hurt. I know you've stopped believing in love letters and grand gestures and the kind of romance that only happens in movies. But this is not a movie. This is real. And it's happening right now. Your soulmate just wrote you a secret love letter. Not with paper and pen. Not with words you can hold in your hands. With their heart. With every tear they've cried over you. With every night they've lain awake thinking about you. With every moment they've reached for their phone to text you and put it down because they didn't know what to say. They wrote it in the language of the soul. The language that doesn't need paper. The language that travels across time and distance and circumstances. And they need you to read it. Before midnight. Not because the letter expires. Because something shifts at midnight. A window closes. A door opens somewhere else. And they need you to receive this message while the energy is still right. So take a breath. Put your phone down on a flat surface if you need to. Put your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. You're about to read a love letter that was written just for you. And it's going to change everything. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Let me tell you how this letter came to be. Not in a day. Not in a moment. Over time. Every time they thought about you, they added a line. Every time they remembered something you said, they added a paragraph. Every time they felt the ache of missing you, they added a page. They didn't plan to write a letter. It just happened. The way a river flows without planning its course. The way a flower grows without deciding to bloom. Their love for you wrote itself. Onto their heart. Into their dreams. Through their prayers. And now, the letter is complete. Not because they're done loving you. Because they can't hold it anymore. It's too heavy. Too full. Too real. They need to send it. Not to your mailbox. To your soul. That's where it's going right now. As you read these words. As you prepare your heart to receive what they've written. The letter is traveling. Across time. Across space. Across every excuse and obstacle and fear that has kept you apart. And it will arrive before midnight. Not on a clock. In your heart. You'll know when it arrives. Because something in you will shift. Something will soften. Something will open. That's the letter landing. That's their love finally reaching you. Don't scroll. Stay with me. This is where most people scroll away because it's easier to doubt than to believe. Don't be most people. Here's what the secret love letter says. Not the exact words, I can't give you those. The heart of it. I never meant to fall in love with you. That's how it starts. Not with a grand declaration. With an admission. They didn't plan this. They didn't expect this. They weren't looking for you. But they found you. Or you found them. Or something bigger than both of you brought you together. And once they saw you, really saw you, they couldn't look away. Not because you're perfect. Because you're real. In a world full of people performing, pretending, protecting themselves, you showed up as yourself. Messy. Honest. Alive. And that undid them. They tried to walk away. Tried to convince themselves it was nothing. Tried to protect themselves from the risk of loving someone who could break their heart. But they couldn't. Because you had already broken through their walls. Not with force. With presence. With the way you made them feel seen. With the way you listened when no one else did. With the way you remembered the small things they mentioned in passing. You loved them before they knew they wanted to be loved. And now, they can't imagine being loved by anyone else. That's the letter. That's the confession. Not, I love you. I can't stop loving you. There's a difference. One is a statement. The other is a surrender. And they have surrendered. To you. To this love. To whatever comes next. Even if it scares them. Especially because it scares them. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here's what else the letter says. I'm sorry. Not a performative apology. A real one. They're sorry for the times they pushed you away when you were trying to get close. For the words they said that they didn't mean. For the silence when they should have spoken. They're sorry for the fear that made them run. For the pride that made them hide. For the voices in their head that told them they didn't deserve you. They're sorry for every moment they made you feel like you were alone in this. You weren't alone. They were just lost. And they're sorry it took them so long to find their way back. I'm sorry is not an excuse. It's an acknowledgement. They know they hurt you. They know they confused you. They know they gave you every reason to walk away. And they're asking for something they don't deserve. Another chance. Not because they've earned it. Because they're finally ready to try. That's the letter. That's the plea. Not, forgive me. Help me become someone worthy of your forgiveness. There's a difference. One is about the past. The other is about the future. And they're choosing the future. With you. Don't scroll. This is where everything shifts. Here's what the letter says about the future. I don't know what comes next. They're not pretending to have all the answers. They're not making promises they can't keep. They're not offering you a fairy tale. They're offering you something better. Honesty. They don't know how this will work. They don't know if they're ready. They don't know if they can be the person you deserve. But they want to try. Not because it's safe. Because it's you. And you are worth the risk. That's the letter. That's the vow. Not, I promise to be perfect. I promise to keep trying. There's a difference. One is a guarantee that can't be kept. The other is a commitment that can. They're committing. To showing up. To doing the work. To becoming someone who can love you the way you deserve. Not because they're already there. Because they're willing to go there. With you. Step by step. Day by day. Moment by moment. That's the letter. That's the gift. Not a finished product. A work in progress. Themselves. Their heart. Their future. All offered to you. Not because you demanded it. Because you inspired it. You made them want to be better. And they're finally ready to try. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here's what the letter says about the past. I would do it differently if I could. Not with regret that paralyzes. With regret that motivates. They would choose you sooner. Stay longer. Love louder. They would ignore the voices that told them to be careful. They would listen to the voice that told them you were worth the risk. They would hold you tighter. Call you more often. Say, I love you every chance they got. Not because they don't love you now. Because they know now what they didn't know then. That love is not something to protect yourself from. Love is something to run toward. Even when it's scary. Especially when it's scary. They know that now. And they're ready to run. Not away. Toward you. That's the letter. That's the redemption. Not, I was wrong. I'm ready to be right. There's a difference. One is an admission. The other is a decision. They've made the decision. To stop running. To start choosing. To love you without reservation. Not because it's easy. Because it's you. And you are the only one who makes them want to be brave. Don't scroll. Stay with me. We're halfway through part 1. Here's what the letter says about right now. I'm scared. Not of you. Of themselves. Scared they'll mess this up. Scared they're not enough. Scared they'll hurt you again. Scared that you've already moved on. That you've closed the door. That you've found someone who's easier to love. Scared that they've waited too long. That the window has closed. That the moment has passed. They're scared of all of it. But they're more scared of not trying. Of wondering, what if, for the rest of their life. Of living with the regret of letting you go. Of watching you be happy with someone else and knowing they could have been that someone. That fear is bigger than all the others. That fear is what's giving them courage. Not the absence of fear. The presence of something stronger. Love. Love for you. Love for what you could be together. Love for the future they can almost see. That love is writing the letter. That love is sending it to you. That love is begging you to read it before midnight. Not because midnight is a deadline. Because midnight is a symbol. A symbol of the old ending and the new beginning. The old you. The old them. The old story. All of it ending. And something new beginning. Something that includes both of you. If you're brave enough to say yes. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here's what you need to do before midnight. Not rush. Not panic. Not force anything. Prepare. Prepare your heart to receive. Clear out the noise. The distractions. The voices in your head that tell you not to believe. Make space. Space for the letter to land. Space for the words to settle. Space for the love to do its work. You don't have to respond immediately. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know what comes next. You just have to receive. Let the letter in. Read it with your heart, not your mind. Your mind will want to analyze, question, doubt. Your heart knows how to receive. Let your heart lead. And when you feel something, when the tears come, when the peace settles, when the knowing arrives, trust it. That's the letter working. That's their love reaching you. That's the answer to every prayer you've prayed. Not in the form you expected. In the form you needed. Love. Real love. The kind that doesn't give up. The kind that crosses time and distance and fear. The kind that writes secret letters and sends them before midnight. That's what you're receiving. Not just words. Love. Let it in. Don't scroll. We're almost through part 1. Here's what I want you to take with you. Your soulmate just wrote you a secret love letter. They wrote it with their heart. With their tears. With every moment they've spent missing you. They wrote it because they couldn't not write it. The love was too big to keep inside. And now, they're sending it to you. Before midnight. Not because midnight is magic. Because you are. And they need you to know that. Before the clock strikes something new. Before the story changes. Before the window closes. They need you to know. You are loved. You are chosen. You are the one they've been waiting for. Not because you're perfect. Because you're theirs. And they are yours. Always have been. Always will be. The letter is coming. Get ready to receive it. Breathe. Put your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. You're still here. You made it through part 1. And part 2 is where I tell you what the letter says next. The secrets they've never told anyone. The fears they've been hiding. The hopes they've been too scared to speak. But for now, just sit with this. Your soulmate wrote you a secret love letter. And before midnight, you'll read it. Not with your eyes. With your heart. And when you do, everything changes. Don't scroll. Part 2 is here. And if you made it through part 1, if you stayed when everything in you wanted to protect yourself by not believing, then you're ready for what comes next. Because part 1 was about the letter. How it came to be. How it's traveling to you now. How it starts with, "I never meant to fall in love with you," and moves through apology and honesty and fear. Part 2 is about something deeper. The secrets they've never told anyone. The parts of the letter that are too vulnerable to share with the world. The confessions they've only made in the dark. The truths they've been hiding even from themselves. These are the secrets that will break your heart and put it back together. These are the reasons they've been running. These are the things you need to know before you decide what comes next. So take a breath. Stay with me. Don't scroll. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to answer the question that's been living in your heart. Why did they push me away? Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here's the first secret. The one they've never told anyone. I was afraid you would leave me. Not because you gave them a reason. Because everyone else did. Everyone they've ever loved has left. Parents. Friends. Lovers. Everyone. Not always physically. Sometimes emotionally. Sometimes gradually. Sometimes suddenly. But always, eventually, they left. And your soulmate learned that love is not safe. That loving someone means preparing yourself for the moment they walk away. So when they met you, when they felt something real, something deep, something that could actually last, they panicked. Not because they didn't want you. Because they wanted you too much. And wanting you too much meant that losing you would destroy them. So they did what they've always done. They left first. Not because they stopped loving you. Because they couldn't bear to watch you leave them. It was self-protection. Misguided. Painful. But self-protection. They pushed you away to keep you from pushing them away first. They created distance to protect themselves from the distance they feared was inevitable. They left before you could leave them. That's the secret. Not that they didn't love you. That they loved you so much it terrified them. And terror looks like running. Not because running is the right thing. Because running is the only thing they knew. Now they know better. But knowing better doesn't erase the past. It just changes the future. That's what the letter is about. The future. Not the past. The past is full of fear and running and mistakes. The future is full of courage and staying and choosing. They're choosing the future. With you. If you'll have them. Don't scroll. Stay with me. This is where most people want to look away. Don't. Here's the second secret. The one they've been hiding from themselves. I didn't think I deserved you. Not because you're better than them. Because they've spent their whole life believing they're not enough. Not smart enough. Not successful enough. Not attractive enough. Not stable enough. Not worthy enough. The voices started early. A parent who criticized. A teacher who dismissed. A friend who betrayed. Over time, the voices became their own. They learned to believe that they were broken. Damaged. Unlovable. And then they met you. And you looked at them like they were precious. Like they mattered. Like they were exactly what you'd been looking for. And they couldn't reconcile that. How could someone like you want someone like them? It didn't make sense. It didn't fit the story they'd been telling themselves their whole life. So they assumed you were wrong. That you didn't really see them. That if you knew the real them, the broken, damaged, unlovable them, you would leave. So they left first. Not because they wanted to. Because they couldn't stand the anticipation of you figuring out what they already believed. That they weren't enough. But here's what they're finally starting to understand. The story they've been telling themselves is a lie. Not because they're perfect. Because worth is not about perfection. Worth is about existence. You exist. Therefore you have worth. Not because of what you do. Because of who you are. A soul. Made by God. Loved by God. Worthy of love. They are worthy. Not because they've earned it. Because they exist. And you saw that. Before they could see it themselves. You saw their worth when they couldn't. That's why they fell in love with you. Not because you're perfect. Because you see clearly. You saw them. And what you saw was worth loving. They're starting to believe that now. Not because of anything they did. Because of you. You made them want to believe. That's the secret. Not that they're unworthy. That they've been believing a lie. And they're ready to stop. Don't scroll. This is where everything shifts. Here's the third secret. The one that will break your heart. I've cried more tears over you than anyone. Not because you hurt them. Because they hurt themselves. Every time they pushed you away, they cried. Every time they chose silence over honesty, they cried. Every time they watched you walk away and didn't stop you, they cried. They cried in the car. In the shower. In the dark, when no one could see. They cried because they missed you. Because they wanted you. Because they were too scared to have you. They cried because they knew they were making a mistake and couldn't stop themselves. They cried because loving you was the most beautiful and most painful thing they'd ever experienced. And they didn't know how to hold both. The beauty and the pain. The wanting and the fear. The love and the terror. So they cried. And they're still crying. Not because they're weak. Because they're human. And humans cry when they love someone they can't seem to reach. They've been trying to reach you. Through the tears. Through the silence. Through the distance they created. But they couldn't find the words. Until now. The letter is their tears becoming words. The letter is their pain becoming poetry. The letter is their love finally finding a voice. And that voice is saying, I'm sorry. I miss you. I want to try again. Not because it's easy. Because the tears have become too heavy to carry alone. They need you to help them carry the tears. Not because you have to. Because you're the only one who can. That's what soulmates do. They carry each other's tears. Not forever. But until the crying stops. And the crying stops when the fear ends. The fear ends when love wins. Love can win. If you let it. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here's the fourth secret. The one they've been too proud to admit. I've been waiting for you to come get me. Not literally. Spiritually. They've been hoping you would be the brave one. That you would reach out. That you would break the silence. That you would fight for them. Because they've been too scared to fight for themselves. They've been waiting for you to be the hero. But you haven't come. Not because you don't care. Because you've been waiting for them. Both of you waiting. Both of you scared. Both of you hoping the other would make the first move. And the waiting has become a chasm. A chasm that neither of you knows how to cross. But the letter is a bridge. Not a perfect bridge. Not a bridge that guarantees safety. A bridge made of vulnerability. Of honesty. Of, I'm scared but I'm doing it anyway. They're building the bridge. Not because they're suddenly brave. Because waiting is worse than crossing. Because the chasm has gotten too wide. Because they can't see you anymore. And not seeing you is unbearable. So they're building. Word by word. Tear by tear. Confession by confession. They're building a bridge to you. And they're asking you to meet them in the middle. Not because it's fair. Because it's love. And love doesn't keep score. Love builds bridges. Will you meet them? Don't scroll. Stay with me. We're halfway through part 2. Here's the 5th secret. The one that will make you cry. I still remember the first time I saw you. Not vaguely. Vividly. What you were wearing. What you were saying. What the light looked like. What the air felt like. They remember everything. Because something in them shifted in that moment. Something woke up. Something said, there they are. They didn't know what it meant. Not then. Not for a while. But they knew something had changed. They knew you were different. They knew you mattered. They've been trying to forget that moment. To convince themselves it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. And they can't forget. Because every time they close their eyes, they see you. The first time. And every time since. They see your face. Your smile. The way you look at them like they matter. They see you. And they can't unsee you. That's the secret. Not that they remember. That they can't stop remembering. You live in their memory. Rent-free. Uninvited. Unshakable. You're everywhere. In every song. In every quiet moment. In every dream. They can't escape you. And they've stopped trying. Because escaping you means escaping the only thing that's ever felt real. And they're tired of running from real. They want to run toward it. Toward you. That's the letter. That's the confession. Not, I remember you. I can't forget you. There's a difference. One is a memory. The other is a haunting. You haunt them. In the best way. And they don't want to be exorcised. They want to be with you. That's the secret. That's always been the secret. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here's what you need to understand about these secrets. They're not excuses. They're explanations. Not, this is why you should forgive me. This is what I've been carrying. They're not asking for pity. They're asking for understanding. Understanding that their running was not about you. It was about them. Their fear. Their wounds. Their unworthiness. They projected it onto you. Made you the villain in a story where they were the hero. But they're not the hero. They're just human. A human who loves you. A human who has made mistakes. A human who is finally ready to stop making them. Not because they're perfect. Because they're tired. Tired of hurting you. Tired of hurting themselves. Tired of pretending they don't care. They care. They've always cared. They just didn't know how to show it. Now they do. By writing this letter. By telling you the secrets. By begging you to listen before midnight. Not because midnight is a deadline. Because midnight is a symbol. A symbol of the old ending and the new beginning. The old secrets have been told. Now it's time for new ones. Secrets of hope. Of love. Of a future together. They're ready to write those secrets. With you. If you'll let them. Don't scroll. We're almost through part 2. Here's what I want you to take with you. Your soulmate wrote you a secret love letter. And in that letter, they told you things they've never told anyone. That they were afraid you would leave. That they didn't think they deserved you. That they've cried more tears over you than anyone. That they've been waiting for you to come get them. That they can't forget you. These are not excuses. They're explanations. Not, feel sorry for me. Understand me. Do you understand? Not with your mind. With your heart. Do you understand that their fear was never about you? That their running was never because you weren't enough? That their silence was never because they didn't care? They cared too much. They were scared too much. They hurt too much. And they didn't know what to do with all that much. Now they do. They wrote a letter. They told you the secrets. They asked you to listen before midnight. Will you? Will you listen? Will you understand? Will you forgive? Not because they deserve it. Because you deserve peace. And peace comes from understanding. Understanding comes from listening. Listening comes from love. And love is why you're still reading. Love is why you didn't scroll. Love is why you're going to say yes. Not because it's easy. Because it's real. And real is worth the risk. Breathe. Put your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. You're still here. You made it through part 2. And part 3 is where I tell you how to respond to the letter. What to say. What to do. How to build something new from the ashes of the old. But for now, just sit with this. The secrets have been told. The letter has been sent. Before midnight, you'll know what to do. Because love always knows. Even when we don't.